Using sterile technique, the OR staff will pass needed components to the sterile field. The assembly of the sterile field components involves the setup and placement of the inflow and outflow tubing, temperature probes, and spiral tubing. The number of these individual components varies depending on which TSP disposable kit was purchased. The example here is for the TSP 2011 procedure kit. The OR staff will transfer the inflow and outflow tubing, cannulas, temperature sensors, and spiral tubing to the surgical field using proper sterile technique. Components are separated according to function. Assembly of the outflow tubing involves tubing that contains a blue, green, or yellow stripe on the tubing. These colored stripes identify the tubing as outflow. The spiral tubing is first placed on the distal end of the outflow cannula. A temperature probe is inserted into the side of the cannula. The distal and proximal ends of the spiral tubing are used to secure the temperature probe to the outflow cannulas. This process is done for all outflow assemblies. Assembly of the inflow tubing involves cannulas that contain a red stripe on the tubing. The red stripe identifies the tubing as inflow. A temperature probe is inserted into the side of the cannula. The probe is secured to the inflow cannula in one or two places using a tie. This process is done for all inflow cannulas. Pictured here is the open coliseum surgical technique after insertion of inflow-outflow cannulas into the patient. After the inflow and outflow cannulas have been prepared, connections are made to the device. Before beginning the connection process, make certain the roller pump has been turned off and the tubing is clamped. The red inflow tubing is passed off the sterile field for connection to the heat exchanger inflow line. This line also contains an identical red stripe. The patient temperature probe is connected to a temperature probe extension cable. This temperature probe extension cable should be connected to the red temperature port on the connector panel. The green and yellow outflow tubings are passed off the sterile field for connection to the fluid reservoir. Make certain that each tubing connection to the reservoir is secure. The patient temperature probes are connected to the temperature probe extension cables. While not necessary, these temp probes on the blue, yellow, and green tubing can be connected via the extension cables to the corresponding color on the connector panel. Inflow and outflow tubing from the recirculation pack are handed to the sterile field for connection to the short inflow-outflow drain. Again, confirmation that the pump is off should occur. The tubing going to and returning from the clamshell pack is clamped. The clamshell is opened and presented to the sterile field. OR staff in the sterile field removes the tubing coil for transfer into the surgical field. The sterile, non-sterile demarcation on the tubing is pre-marked with tape. Once on the surgical field, the coil is separated using the quick release fitting. The short inflow cannula is connected to the inflow line, which is identified with a red stripe. The short outflow cannula is connected to the outflow tubing, which is identified with a blue stripe.